Hey, we're here with Chris O'Neill back from season 8 in 2021. And Taylor's co-hosting as always, giving us her insights and questions. So, Chris, we want to just start out with a little bit of you giving us a little bit about who's Chris O'Neill in 2025.
Yeah. My name is Chris O'Neill. I'm 28. I have since moved to Los Angeles. I live in Glendale, California now, working as a credit analyst.
All right.
Okay. So Chris, let's throw it back to 2021. How did you hear about Survival Challenge and what were your initial thoughts that made you want to apply?
So I have been part of like the online Survivor community since I was a kid. I didn't have anyone to talk to about the show when I was growing up, so I like found online forums and sort of like was raised on them. So somewhere in there, I found out about like Bob's Survivor game, quote unquote. And then I think my first exposure to it was Austin Trupp, when he played blog about it, and we had been like friends for a decent while from online sites. So some combination of like him, Bryce, and then like Anthony DeMott got me above the line.
So your season had the interesting lead in, right, with COVID. So
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about how that all played out for you.
yeah, like I was thinking about that with these questions. The interesting part of my participation is I was supposed to play in 2020, and I very distinctly remember the like phone call that we had, John, where it was like, okay, can we make this work? Like, is this a thing that we're going to be willing to do? And it was like a question of like, okay, we want to make this happen, but what are the precautions? So it's like, would you be willing to play a version of Survival Challenge where there's no physical challenges, you can't touch any of the other contestants, and you have to like wear a hazmat suit the entire time? And and my answer to that phone call was yes. Maybe ill-advised, but I just so distinctly remember like and the decision was made obviously not to have the season at that time, and that was a good decision. But then there was like a whole nother year, and then I moved cities, and so for like person I think that played in 2021 that would have played in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, we so wanted that to happen. We tried everything we could, but
Right.
it turned out for the best.
I think so.
2020, 2026 hazmat style coming to you next year.
Yeah.
Rolling it back. So, okay, well, let's think about any funny, interesting stories that you happened leading up to your initial participation in SD. Like, what were you doing to get yourself ready for when you hit the sand running?
I mean, I think the funniest thing that happened to me leading up was I went to the casino with Benji the week before, and his girlfriend had mentioned like, "Oh, what about that like game that you're about to go play?" And I was like, "You're about to be at this game with me?" So finding out that one of my close friends in Denver was about to be in this game, and he had no idea that I was going to be there, but I knew for that week and was freaking the heck out about it the entire time. So going into it, I was like, should I say something? Should I not say something? I decided not to, and I don't know if that was the right decision or not, but just for the integrity of the game. Yeah.
So you had mentioned being part of the org community for a long time, and
Yeah.
your participation in SC wasn't new, but you showed up in the field in Macomb, and just tell us what was that initial feeling like?
Oh, I had so much anxiety. But I remember that I was like the email said do not get there before 4. And I was like, okay, heard. So I went to the gas station beforehand because I was on track to get there a little early, and filled my tank from like 3/4 full to full just to have something to do. And I ended up getting there at like 4:02, and that ended up with me being the last one there or the second to last one there. So I was like, oh my God, I've already like messed up. People are waiting for me. And then honestly, in our season, there wasn't really that much time to like freak out because I get checked in, I get walked over to the initial challenge starting area, and you're like, okay, make your own tribes, go. So it was just a lot all at once, but I'm kind of glad for that because into things immediately.
Now, remind me, what did you place your season?
I got sixth place, famously getting myself rocked out.
Okay. We love rocks. So famously, let's talk about it. Favorite memories from your season. Do you have any? And also, what about challenges? Tell us some of your favorite
Yeah.
challenges.
So my favorite memory from my season was on reward day, there was a challenge where we got paired with one other person, and it was the challenge where you had to like balance like a bowling pin on like a little platform. And it was Kelsey and I who got randomly paired together, and we were already vibing, we were already kikiing and all that. Um, and we, in our first round, we were competing against three other pairs. We were able to maneuver it so that we were like the last two standing, where everybody else in their rounds like only came down to one. So we were able to successfully like win that challenge together and then like have a moment celebrating. And that was the first time that I was like, okay, I did something successful in survival challenge. Like if I get out first, I did something good. So that was great. And then the other thing that I really remember fondly, which is so masochistic of me, but there was a night where it was completely downpouring. And I remember it was like me, Devin, Pat, and maybe Jake in particular that like in this downpour got our shelter together. And I felt really like proud of myself that I actually like contributed to something survival wise as well. So I don't know. Those are things that I think back on.
Love it.
Anything post survival challenge that you walked out of and said, hey, this is something I learned or a connection that you made that was meaningful to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been an ever evolving series of connections that like Kelsey is still one of my closest friends. Um, I think the biggest takeaway from Survival Challenge for me was that it was a sort of confidence boost. Um, like that I needed at the time because I mean going into it I felt like it could go any one of many different ways and obviously I didn't win but I just felt like okay like I succeeded in challenges, I got far enough in the game to like have a full experience. So that was my big takeaway. It was just sort of like okay, I can like sort of throw myself into something and be relatively successful at it, and that was a nice energy to come away with.
Well, now let's jump to 2025. We're about 3 months out. Give us a very small look into what are your thoughts as we get closer to unfinished business. Very small peek behind the curtain.
My main thought is I need to hit the gym. Uh, I'm like, when it was first like announced and cast and like I made it, I feel like I like my brain went into like hyperdrive and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I feel like life has just gotten hectic and now it's like ever approaching and I'm like, okay, shoot, we need to like zone in because honestly, I feel like I'm not super zoned in right now. But now that like this is happening, and I think once it hit the 3 month mark, because I'm a procrastinator by nature, but once it hit 3 months, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna make like any sort of significant impact into my like physicality or like studying or anything, I'm like, I need to start now. And I had that thought 2 weeks ago, and I did not start. So, so that's sort of where my head is at. It's just like, okay, we need to get these wheels moving.
Is there anything in particular from a challenge point of view or a game design point of view you're hoping shows up in this season?
So there's one major, I don't know the proper like saying, but there's one major like skeleton from my survival challenge experience, and that is that freaking maze challenge that I lost in for 20 minutes. So something I'm hoping for is a redemption opportunity in that rope maze because truly I entered it and it was like I entered like Narnia or whatever and then had lost any sense of left or right. And people thought I was throwing the challenge, but I was just genuinely was confused out of my mind. So that's something that like is the one thing that I like. It's not that I really regret it, but it's just like, man, that was awful. Other than that, I don't know. I'm kind of just ready for whatever.
Okay, well, to wrap it all up, I would love for you to, and you don't have to give any explanation at all, describe in one word how you want to approach this season. No explanation, just one word.
Like, I have two words. Like relaxed, I think.
Hello there. We are live with Kadie Yanoni from season 8 of Survival Challenge. And as always, I'm joined by Taylor co-hosting interviews tonight. So Kadie, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about you.
I am Kadie Yanoni. I am from Boston, Massachusetts, and I am very excited to play in a game. The first time I played, I only had one little boy, and now I have two little guys. So I'm very excited to get back out there and prove to myself, hopefully, that a mom of two can do this. So we'll see.
I love that. Well, let's take it back to 2021, season 8. And talk us through, how did you originally hear about Survival Challenge? And then what were those initial thoughts that made you say, you know what? Yeah, I want to do that.
So it's really funny. I didn't know that this world existed. And when the pandemic hit, me and my husband were locked inside, taking the pandemic very seriously with our little baby at the time. And we were like, I was like learning guitar with my husband, and I was like doing a lot of reading. And then my husband found out from this person named Justin McCorby that these online gamings existed. And we had no clue, but we were big Survivor fans. So Justin was running this game called Pandora. So we did an online game with Justin. And then after we fell in love with that, he was like, wait, you guys should look into Survival Challenge. It's so amazing. You can go out and play in these live games. And so we were sold. And I think that season, someone had to back out for a pandemic or a family reason. And Justin said, a spot just opened for a female spot. Do you want to look into it? And I was all about it. And I've been addicted to these games ever since.
So you mentioned the pandemic. You and your season 8 cast got the privilege of having to wait an extra long time between knowing you're going to play and actually getting out there. So tell us about that time window in between.
So for me, actually, I think that was probably the experience of a lot of the players before, but I found out pretty quickly before the game. I think it was only like a month or two, maybe 2 or 3 months, because I was an alternate. So I didn't know about this prior. I didn't apply, and then a female spot opened up, and then I applied then. So I think that the cast probably had that longer wait. And I think that that's probably a good thing, because right when I found out I was cast, I was so excited. And then like a week before the game started, I was like, wait, what did I sign up for? Like, I've never slept outside. Like, glamping is like all I've done. And even that, I'm like, I need a shower and I need a nail salon. What's happening? What am I doing? And like 3 or 4 nights before the game, I looked at my husband, because he's really into all of this camping and stuff. And I was like, are you still going to be proud of me if I quit? And he was like, you're not going to quit. But I was like, no, but you have to answer my question. Like, if I have to, like, if like, I'm not okay. And he's like, of course, but like, you're not going to do that. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't have that longer wait, because that would have been brutal for me.
All right. Well, you're a month out and now you're there. You made it to Macomb and you're like, this is not the glamping lifestyle that I thought it was going to be. So paint the scene for us. What was going through your mind the minute you stepped out into Macomb?
So when I got to Macomb, I was like, I love food. Girl needs to have a big meal, because like, who knows what that's going to be like. So I heard about this great like chicken or buffalo place. I don't know what it's called, but I definitely have to look it up before this round, because I'm going back for the same salad.
Probably chicks, right?
Yes, chicks. I got this huge salad with buffalo chicken on it, and I devoured the whole thing. And this is like an hour before check-in. And my husband's like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, I'm an Italian Jew. I'm going to go 5 or something days without pizza or a bagel. I absolutely want to do this. And whenever I was hungry in the game, I was like, after the game, you can get a buffalo salad again. You're good. So I was dreaming about that salad, and I still dream about that salad. So that was my like Macomb experience. But when I pulled up, so my husband and I, after I got cast on Survival Challenge, we got invited to play in another game in Maine. And we were cast as like this twist in the game. So we applied, and they wanted us to hide our relationship and just play as two strangers. So when we're driving to Macomb, we didn't know if there was going to be any overlap in players. So when he was coming to watch me, he was like, I'm not going to like interact with you. Like, not that you interact, but I'm not going to tell anyone who I'm there to watch. So when we were pulling up, he's driving me in, and I'm like, I should get in the back seat and you should be my Uber driver. So we pretend he was my Uber driver, and I get in the back seat and we're pulling up. But then as the weekend played out, it was just so much fun, and he couldn't hide that he was so excited for me. And so he went from being like this little masked man under an umbrella when it was raining to being like, that's my wife, and not hiding it anymore. But when we originally pulled up, he was my Uber driver, and we were trying to really go undercover. So that was like our first big strategic move. But then when we first got there, they went through the bags and they were like, all your items are allowed except for your blanket. And I was like, oh, it's going to be cold. This is going to be hard. And then just the way that it was set up, all the girls were on one side and all the guys were on the other side. I'm like, oh, this is like battle of the sexes or something. Like, what's happening? So these are my initial thoughts. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. This is going to be fun, but this is going to be hard. So there was a lot of first impressions, I think, that were happening.
So then everything gets real, right? And you spend those few days out there, and it's hard to boil it down to a couple, but do you have a couple of memories that stand out or challenges that you really loved that you want to tell us about?
So as no one probably knows, because ours didn't become episodes, is my original tribe really struggled. We like lost vote out after vote out. So swapping and winning that first challenge as a swap tribe was really exciting. That was definitely a highlight. We were like, I forget exactly what the challenge was, but we were like, the challenge ended on a big platform, and we all had to be on the platform for the end. And we just like all hugged and were like so excited, and then jumping off the platform, like celebrating this win. And the people that were on that swap tribe that had been like winning all of theirs prior were so happy for all of us original people that like had never won, that it was just like such a bonding moment, because like they knew it was our first win, and it was just so exciting. And then the other part that was really exciting is like, I'm just definitely mediocre at challenges. Like I'm never going to be a challenge person. So winning an individual immunity challenge, I won the first individual immunity challenge, and it was like counting things. Like I had to count like how many corns were on a cob and how many fish were swimming around a tank. So winning that was awesome, because like those are the only challenges I'm going to win, like the ones that like anyone can win. So if you're watching and you're playing with me, I can count people. I can count. So if there's a challenge for counting, you should be threatened. I'm gonna win it. So winning that was really cool.
Well, are there any particular challenges that you're hoping to participate in or see besides counting?
Besides counting, I think that my strength is more like the balancing. I'm good at like getting in my own head and like mind over matter. So like I would like to see balancing, like the stacking the blocks and backing up, balancing in that way, or like endurance balancing, like how long can you stand on this or something like that. But nothing else in particular. Like I'm not a puzzle person. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest, but I'll give it my best.
So you drive away from the field in Macomb. What did you take with you? Anything you learned about yourself or connections, or what was your after game thinking?
My after game thinking was that was life-changing. That was the most powerful thing next to having a child at that point that I'd ever done. I mean, putting a group of people in a spot where everyone's in the same boat, everyone's vulnerable, everyone wants to connect, not having phones, like we're all so glued to our jobs and phones, and just being in the world and being able to look at people and get to know people. And I mean, my experience as a mother in a small town is like your world becomes very small. You see the same people every day, which in a one way is like it's comforting, right? You have the same routines, but it becomes a small bubble. And just being put out with all these strangers and such a cool experience, like the depth of their connections in such a short period is something I'll always hold on to. And like from my season, the person I've stayed closest to at this point is Landon and Joe. And like, we didn't always see eye to eye in the game, but after the game, it's like, they're my people. And there's just, I guess the thing I took away was that I can do it. that I can be in the woods and I can starve and I can have a lot of fun, and that there's so many good people in the world that you wouldn't meet until you do cool things like this.
Yeah, SE is a big family. That's something that I think everyone has agreed upon. So now let's jump ahead to 60 days out. We're just around 60 days, which is crazy to say out loud. What are your thoughts as we get closer to unfinished business? What's going through your head right now?
My thoughts are, I was terrible at eating things then, and I remain terrible at eating things now. And so that is just something I'm going to show up saying, like, if there's a food challenge, I butchered it the first time and I still have the same gag reflex.
Unless we bring in stuff from chicks, right?
Yep.
If you give me some buffalo chicken, I'll crush it. But I struggled during that challenge. And I think my biggest fear going into the first game that I still have is like, I'm comfortable with who I am. I've grown into myself. I love myself. I'm a confident person. When I don't win individual immunities, that's okay with me. I know who I am and I know that that's not my strength. In a tribe setting, if I'm in a position where I let other people down, I really am hard on myself in that moment. That's my biggest fear going into this game. And it will in the last game, and it remains my biggest fear in this game is like the tribe. I never want to be one that disappoints other people. And so that's the thing that still gets me really anxious of like, like you can get over disappointing yourself because you love yourself, but disappointing other people is a harder pill to swallow for me. So let's hope that I don't have to swallow a octopus eyeball on anyone's behalf.
Hey, there's a cup of hot sauce with my name on it somewhere. I know that, John. All right, to wrap this up, we have a bonus question. If you could describe how you're going to tackle this season with one word and no explanation, what is that one word of how you're going to go into the season? Play it, go into it. What's that one word?
Authentic.